Am I in shot? Am I good? All right. Good evening, everyone. Hi, everybody. My name's Kirsten. I'm part of the marketing team at Florist Books. Thank you so much for joining us at Waterstones this evening. We are here tonight to celebrate Mike Nicholson, who's been part of the Florist family for almost 20 years now. Mike first joined us back in 2005 when Catscape, a story of unlikely friendships, unexpected allies and cat surveillance, won the very first Kelpies Prize for New Scottish Writing. Since then, he's gone from strength to strength, covering pretty much all the bases in children's writing. There's Grimm, a spooky and intriguing novel about a haunted hotel. There's the Thistle series, a trilogy of fabulous picture books which introduce kids to Scots words. And there's the Museum Mystery Squad, a fan illustrated by another Mike, Mike Phillips, each inspired by a different historical artefact or museum exhibit. So far, we've had the case of the moving mammoth, the case of the hidden hieroglyphics, the case of the curious coins, the case of the Roman riddle, the case of the vanishing Viking. All very puzzling and mysterious, but the Museum Mystery Squad's most recent brain-teasing, totally improbable puzzle is completely out of this world. Before we start that countdown and switch the engines on, a couple of housekeeping bits and pieces. If the fire alarm goes off, it is not a drill. Follow the green fire exit signs that direction. We are live streaming the event tonight, so please try not to walk across the front of the stage. And if you are tweeting or Instagramming or Facebooking or social mediaing in general, we are using hashtag Museum Mystery Squad. And now, to commence launch procedures, I'd love to introduce Eleanor Collins, one of our editorial directors who's been working closely with Mike for many years now. Please give her a very warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everyone. Such a pleasure to see everyone here tonight at Waterstones. So lovely of Waterstones to have us. Give you a very warm welcome at Florist Books here in Edinburgh. As Kirsten has said, we're rapidly reaching the stage when the unit of measurement for how long Mike has been publishing with Florist will shift from years to decades. All his books have been shining stars in the Florist galaxy, but the Museum Mystery Squad series holds a special place in our hearts and in the hearts of readers. Its immensely satisfying combination of a mystery-solving plot with a museum setting hours in many countries, but especially here in Scotland. As a series, it really only needed to be shot into an out-of-this-world dimension to achieve cosmic greatness, and that's what we're here to do tonight. Because this sparkling new addition to the series is set in the museum's space zone. Yes, it's all high-tech NASA kit and low-tech planet puns in proper Museum Mystery Squad style. In this exciting installment, someone delivers a letter to the museum threatening to steal an exhibit from the space zone unless money is left on the space capsule steps. I'm going to let you find out for yourselves how the squad deals with that Jupiter-sized problem. What I am going to reveal to you are the secrets of Mike Nicholson's success. After all this time working with Mike's stories, I feel well qualified to list for you the 3 absolutely stellar aspects of Mike's writing. And the number 1 of the 3, no mystery here, is his characters. Mike invents characters that we totally love. It's fair to say that Nabster, Kennedy, Laurie and Colin have become entirely real for me. And when Mike sent in his draft of the new book, I was so happy to be hanging out with them again. It was like being with old friends. The Museum Mystery Squad series has had numerous glowing reviews, and one of the early ones for the case of the moving mammoth from Manhattan Book Review said, "The characters are unique, intelligent and likable." And I absolutely agree with every word of that assessment. Solving mysteries alongside these characters is just so much fun. Number 2 in my list of 3 stellar aspects of Mike's writing is his humour. It's a good thing I have a soft spot for bad puns, because museum security guard Gus is always there to provide them. But on top of Gus's efforts, the whole book's full of snappy dialogue and amusing juxtapositions and silly setups. And to celebrate Mike's humour, I've found 3 space jokes for you all to warm you up for reading Mike's jokes later in the book. So, joke number 1. Why didn't the sun go to university? Because it already had 15 million degrees. Why did the restaurant on the moon get bad reviews? Because it had no atmosphere. And what's an astronaut's favourite junk food? Mars bars. Finally, the third stellar aspect of Mike's writing is his capacity to create big, exciting, zany scenes. All the Museum Mystery Squad books have moments of thrilling drama and suspense, and they all end with a final flourish that would rightly stretch credibility, but Mike carries us along beyond our better judgment to outlandish heights. I thoroughly recommend you read the conclusion of The Case from Outer Space, but I actually don't need to recommend this because it's such an edge-of-your-seat mystery, you'll be dying to find out who done it and why. Like all good books that explain the absence of gravity in space, you'll find it impossible to put down. I also want to mention the incredibly talented Mike Phillips, our illustrator, his brilliant detail, his humour, his patience with us. Big, big thank yous to Richard Wainment and Jenny Skinner, who are old friends of the squad at Floris and have worked hard to pull this book together. Thank you, Kirsten, for the event. Thank you to all of you for coming out and making it a proper launch. And most of all, thanks to Mike. Appreciation and congratulations on the new book.
I think this is my bit now. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming. I've got a few other thank yous to say, and then I have got a few things for you to do as well. So let's get to that. So I feel that a bit like putting someone on the moon, there are a lot of people behind a book being published. A lot of them are here tonight from Floris, and I want to say a big, big thank you to the Floris team who've worked hard on this and enthusiastically get behind all of the books that I've been involved in. Their thoroughness pushes me along, tests me out, and always produces a better book. It does take a long time to get a book out, so they also have to put up with me getting twitchy about how long it's taking, but we always get there in the end, so big thanks to them for all their work. I'd also like to say a huge thanks to Mike Phillips, the illustrator, who sadly and slightly weirdly I have still never met or spoken to. I now start to see his illustrations as I write the books, without a doubt. So for example, if I wonder what it's like to sneeze inside an astronaut's helmet, I immediately know that that will turn into a brilliant Mike Phillips illustration. And this book has some of his best ones yet in the series, I think. So I do realise that shock horror, some people here might be at the starting point with the Museum Mystery Squad and not know anything about it. So I'm going to give a very quick explanation. It really all began when Floris asked me if I had any ideas for a series of mystery adventure books for 6 to 8 year olds roughly, and with featuring the same characters. And at that point I was walking past here. And I thought, I wonder if you could set a series of books in the same building. I thought, no, surely the same building would just become a bit boring after a while. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, what if each of the zones in the museum did something? And what if, and I began to sort of think my way through the museum and think, what if you went downstairs and along corridors and down even more stairs? And then there was this mysterious room in the basement of the museum, and behind the door of that museum, that room, there was your classic sort of mystery-solving group of children. And that is how the Museum Mystery Squad was born, just with that simple idea of what ifs. What if that room was in the museum, which it obviously is, now that these people really do exist. So, and I began to write, and what came out was pretty much this. Some people think that museums are boring places. Glass cases, old stuff, dust. Wrong. Think more of wild animals, ancient mummies, groundbreaking technology, colourful costumes, glittering treasure, and amazing objects found nowhere else in the world. Then imagine that the museum, each thing in the museum has its own strange story, with secrets from the past to be uncovered, codes to be cracked, odd characters and their fiendish plans, each one creating a job for a team of expert investigators, the Museum Mystery Squad. In this book, you'll find the squad in the depths of the museum, somewhere in a maze of corridors and stairs. Today, like every day, they have a puzzle to solve. And when I wrote that, I actually checked today, when did I write that bit? And I wrote it in about 2015. I found the first draft of it. And because that was what formulated the idea in my head, and then the stories kind of came from there. But that sort of idea, and I think it pretty much, that's one of the few bits that didn't get edited very much, because that just sort of named what this was all about, that series. I've completely forgotten what the next slide is. What was it? Oh yeah, the Museum Mystery Squad. So yeah, I better introduce you to the Museum Mystery Squad. Who are, so Kennedy, as that illustration shows, she's the fast-paced one, always on the move, often the first to the scene, always the first with her ideas of what might be going on. Then there's Nabster, who loves nothing more than, this slide by the way has its own life, so I'll just let it run, and it does that, and there's one more. Oh, maybe there's not. Oh, yes, there is. Anyway, Nabster is the squad's gadget inventor. He loves nothing more than to invent crazy gadgets that will often help the squad solve a mystery, and sometimes won't, but that's his favourite thing. Laurie, well, does he seem useful? He doesn't seem useful. He spends most of his time in a sleeping bag on the settee, which might not seem particularly useful, but he always asks the right questions. So this voice will emerge from the sleeping bag, and it will be a really perceptive question. So he's got great questions, Laurie. And then every mystery solving gang needs some kind of creature. I decided that they needed a hamster. Colin the hamster is unwittingly the fourth member of the Museum Mystery Squad. He spends most of his time eating carrots and sleeping, which again might not seem particularly helpful, but there's always something that Colin does in a very hamstery sort of way, which helps them crack the case. So you have to keep your eye on what Colin's up to, because that will help along the way. Magda Gasker, she is the museum's director. So she will always, early on in the mystery, she'll present the squad with whatever has happened in the museum that she needs them to look into. And her name suggests the fact that I do like a good pun, which also leads us on to Gus, who is the museum's security guard, who always has a key role in each of the stories as well. But there is a big problem with Gus, which is why there's a danger sign over him, and it's why I hadn't actually risk assessed this bit of this evening. But are you up for a bit of danger this evening? Is everyone up for a bit of danger this evening? So Gus does like an absolutely terrible joke. So what I like to do is try out some of Gus's terrible jokes on the audience and see if they can react in the same way that Museum Mystery Squad do, which is not laugh and absolutely straight face it, okay? So I'm going to give you 40 seconds of Gus jokes and see if you can not laugh at these jokes. That is your challenge. Now, because Gus's jokes, I've got Gus's joke book with me, because they are actually so dangerous and unpleasant, I need to wear protective glasses and gloves to handle a joke book. It's not for the faint-hearted, this. And that's why we're only doing 40 seconds of them, because they are pretty painful. Here we go, Gus's joke book. So are you ready? Yeah. Straight faces. Here we go. What is orange and sounds like a parrot? A carrot. What is the best time of year to jump on a trampoline? Spring. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the cupboard? Supplies. Did you hear about the two thieves who stole a calendar? They each got 6 months. What's it like reading a book about anti-gravity? You can't put it down. What did the drummer call his twin daughters? And a 1 and a 2. What did the buffalo say when the boy left the herd? Bye, son. Okay. What's the fastest thing in the bakery? Scone. Did you hear the joke about the rubbish submarine? Didn't go down well. I think we better leave it at that. So there we go, that's Gus's jokes. So if you don't like that sort of humour, please don't read these jokes. I actually ran these jokes past the Florist editorial team before tonight. They said they were pretty average. I thought pretty average was a bit mean. Keep up, keep up. A lot of people tell me that kids just like poo jokes. They're not really my favourite, but they are a solid number 2, I have to say. So. Anyway, moving on. I think, are there some objects? Oh yeah, so this is proof that it is the National Museum of Scotland, Chambers Street, that gave me the inspiration, because here's an illustration from the Moving Mammoth with the steps at the museum, and a fantastic scene from Mike Phillips, the illustrator. But what actually gave me the idea for each of the different books, so again, the next slide will show that it's basically objects in the museum that, or not necessarily in the Chambers Street Museum, but in museums generally, that gave me the idea for each book. A mammoth, a mummified cat, coins and robots, a gladiator's helmet. When I saw that picture, I immediately imagined smoke coming out of those holes, and that's where the story came from. It's the most Scooby-Doo of the stories. A Viking longship, that's a photo from the museum in Oslo. So again, I've sort of pinched ideas from other museums and sort of put them into the Chambers Street one. And so with 5 books done, I was looking for inspiration, and I saw that. And that was my inspiration for The Case from Outer Space. And weirdly, I was actually doing a Museum Mystery Squad event in the Hunterian Museum in Glasgow, and that was right beside me in a glass case. And that is known as the high possil meat, that were on the moon and have actually been brought back, and that museum zones for space looks